I poked him in the eye by accident when I was sleeping the other day, and he stayed asleep as well.
Oh my God.
What's up, witches? Hi, I'm Claudia.
And I'm Jess.
And welcome to True Crime Coven. Hello.
Hello, Claudia. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm like, I set my alarm for 10 a.m. and then I woke up at 3 p.m.
Wonderful.
But I went to bed at 7 a.m.
Okay. Were you doing a night shift?
No. I was unwell last week. I had to call in sick to work. I got a chest infection, and then I'm now on annual leave, so I'm fully in my normal nocturnal era. That's my natural sleep phase.
Fair enough. Aiden went out last night, so you know when you just can't sleep as well because your partner's not back yet and you're just waiting for them to come home and disturb you.
Yeah, that, but also I do sleep better when he's not there because I like to starfish.
Yeah, like if I know he's not coming home, then I sleep better. But
yeah.
If I know, like, if I starfish, I know he's going to come home and wake me up.
Yeah,
and
that's
I don't
true.
sleep as well.
So, ghost stories?
Yep, ghost stories / cryptid week.
And I think I need it because after obviously this week that we're recording, we put out our episode about the prejudice towards the trans community.
Yeah.
And then I was on Twitter and I saw lots of prejudice towards the trans community, not in reply to us.
No.
In reply to Stacey Dooley doing a documentary.
Oh, okay.
And like I found a really good way to combat it. You just reply to them like when they're like, oh, this agenda. I just replied to them like, what agenda's that? And they're like, and one of them was like, do you really have to ask? And I was like, I'm just asking what agenda you think it is.
Yeah.
And then they don't reply because they realise there's no way to reply and not sound like an awful human. And someone was like, their kids should get taken away. It was about like a mum and dad who had both transitioned. And they're like, their kids should get taken away. I was like, why? Are they abusing them? Are the kids not looked after, not safe, not fed? And then they just don't reply because it's like, oh no, you just want the kids to get taken away because you're a bigot. Cool, got it.
Also, not being funny, I can imagine a transgender couple raising a more well-rounded child because of the struggles that they've had to go through as the parents.
I mean, my friends are a lesbian couple raising a beautiful little girl, and she's one of the happiest, healthiest kids I've ever seen, and she's going to grow up with such an amazing view of the world.
My manager at work, she is on mat leave currently at the minute, and her wife have just had a little boy.
And he's going to grow up.
Yeah, I remember she said to me, she went, how are two women supposed to raise a little boy? And I said, Emma,
probably really well.
I was like, Emma, however you want, he's your child.
And also, he's going to grow up really respecting women.
Yeah.
Probably not fetishizing lesbians and lesbian... Sorry, you probably hear Lilith in the background rustling. I will get that in a minute. Not her, the bag that she's rustling in. It is a play bag. It's not like a plastic bag left on the floor.
Yeah.
But they're going to grow up not fetishizing lesbians and women, you know.
Yeah, just because they have a better understanding of it.
And they're probably going to really respect women. And I'm not saying that a straight couple can't do the same. But, you know, like, as long as a kid is well looked after, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God, I'm going to stop these two ferrets from playing in the Garfield bag.
I'm going to have a sip of water before we start. Moving swiftly on. Ghost stories this week. Are you excited?
I'm always excited for ghost stories because we get to, like, as I was saying, I'm quite excited because I feel like we get to decompress in these weeks. It's not as heavy. Hopefully there's no weeping. It tends not to be as heavy. A
little bit of fun with the cryptids as well.
Yeah, I love my cryptid pals.
So this week I've actually gone for, it's a very, very long ghost story.
Okay.
So get ready.
Okay.
So get ready to take some notes.
Fucking hell, okay. Let me get my post-its. One sec.
Yeah, if you want to. Also, I think she is American. Yeah. Cincinnati,
Fair.
Ohio.
I saw we got an email this week.
Yeah. We got a few Americans.
Well, I told you, our listeners are like 40% American.
That's mental.
45% UK, and then the rest is like around the world.
Do you know, like, in my head when we're doing this, no one listens.
In my head, we're talking to like the friends I know that listen, your friends that listen, and that's it. Yeah, and then someone messaged me on Facebook and suggested a case, a really amazing case. Well, not really amazing.
I saw that.
But like a case that I really think we are actually going to cover, might be our next one.
Yeah.
Peach, you are getting on my last nerve. Yeah, you look at me like that. Peach. Yeah, like I said to Mikey, I was like, it's really weird when like someone you don't know reaches out, because I'm just like, aren't me and Jess just having a chat and like...
Literally, we'll do this and I'll be like, I forgot that I'm not just telling you a story. Like, sometimes I forget it's not just me and you, like other people listen to this.
Especially because we hardly actually socialise outside of this. Like, we text each other.
Yeah.
But we're really bad at actually being...
We're so busy. That's the problem. We're so busy that we try and do a podcast. We end up
talking so much in this because we're literally just catching up.
Yeah, literally. And we haven't done one face to face in so long.
No. But we will. And soon we'll be on video. And yeah.
And then shit will hit the fan.
But yeah, we'll text about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's hear the ghosty ghouly story.
The ghosty ghouly story. Fab. Mm-hmm. So this one is another one sent in by Indigo.
Oh, the amazingly named Indigo.
Yeah. So this one she has named the Clifton House.
Oh, not Clifton Bristol, but...
No, not Clifton Bristol. When I was a little girl, my dad's siblings bought a large house together to live in while they were at college. I thought this was the coolest house in the whole world because my uncles lived there, and my aunts and uncles knew how to have fun. But there was always a creepy and scary feeling to the house. It was all over the house, but each of the 4 floors had its own hotspot of concentrated amounts of energy that nobody wanted to come face to face with. Later on in my adult life, my sister's parents and I all discussed the house. And much to my surprise, we all named the exact same hotspots where the energy of the spirits was at its height. When I was a child, my parents would tell me it was just my imagination and were lying to me so that I wouldn't get scared. This was a very old, large house built in one of Cincinnati, Ohio's oldest parts of the town, Clifton. The house had a large backyard and was built into the hillside. It was all pretty steep. This house, for as long as I could remember, had been haunted, either by evil spirits, angry spirits, or a combination of the two. Then it was my time to go to college. I went to the same college that my uncles and my dad went to, so I needed to live close by. I decided to move into this house, forgetting how disturbing it was to spend time there. First, there was the attic, where I found a disembodied mannequin head around the age of 4, which scared the absolute shit out of me. But the attic was then finished and made into 2 very nice big bedrooms. The whole attic was haunted. It was one of the worst places in the house. And then was the floor with the main bedrooms on it. The small room leading up to the attic was haunted often, and if not there, they really liked to watch me and mess with me in my bedroom. But the main haunting on that floor was the small connecting room. On the main living room, the door leading to the basement was frightening. The energy oozed and crept out of it. There was also a dartboard closest in the dining room, which was haunted as hell. The kitchen was okay, but it seemed to give the creeps into the bathroom just off to the side of the kitchen. And the backyard, even though nobody was even remotely close to the house, it always felt as if it had an angry presence, and it was looking in at you into the kitchen. The backyard was definitely very haunted, and I hated playing there. The front porch area was also haunted. And it's like those small areas I mentioned, such as the closet and the one half of the bathroom and the small connecting room, were like the pathways of the spirits that would take from moving floor to floor. They were never on the stairs though. They were never in the hallway or the living room or the main bathroom. But the worst room in the whole house is where this brief story takes place, the basement. You can say to me, well, it's a basement. All basements are creepy, aren't they? No, there's creepy, and then there is this basement, or as I like to call it, the portal to hell. And for the record, cleanses have been done multiple times by different people who knew what they were doing, and it has never worked on these supernatural assholes. I must have been doing the wrong kind of cleanse or something, and maybe their sage was old, I don't know. Anyway, the basement was old, dark and leaky, with bits of broken things and old concrete and old wooden shelves. But in the far corner of the basement, directly to the corner of the dryer, was the hillside, so it was all underground. There was an old door wrapped in plastic with broken glass panes around it, but it was also completely protected, leading out onto what I can only assume was the dirt of the hillside. Not even my uncles knew what was behind that door. They never messed with it, probably because it was scary as fuck. And they all thought it led to nowhere. It was completely underground, and I refused to go down into the basement unless I had company, either on the phone or in person. I did have to go down there regularly, however, because it's where the laundry machines were. I had a cat at the time called Lady. Now, Lady was normally super chilled out and nothing ever got to her. She was my little shadow. She used to follow me everywhere and used to keep me company. And it's because of her that I knew something horrible and frightening showed up behind me. This was about 20 years ago, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. My cat had lived in haunted houses with me before, and the ghosts had never really bothered her, but this time it was different. She reluctantly followed me down the basement steps where I go to do my laundry. I'm switching over loads into the dryer when I look up at her and see she's staring right past me, just looking at the direction of the scary door. She starts to hiss and yowl. Lady's tail became huge and all her fur stood up on end. She arched her back, yowling and hissing like she was trying to defend herself and warning me that there was a true danger directly behind me. She was terrified, and she doesn't understand that I cannot see what she is seeing. I could feel it though, whatever it was, even though I couldn't see it. She shot out of the basement and up the stairs faster than anything I've ever seen. She had never reacted that way before, and after that day, she never reacted that way again. She also never went into the basement again. I screamed and ran up the stairs after my cat and waited for somebody else to come home before I finished the laundry. I will never forget that day, and I will never forget the horrible energy in that house. I still have nightmares about having to go back there for one reason or another. And that is the end of Indigo's story.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, it is a long story.
So I've made a few notes.
Yeah,
honestly, these notes are all over the show.
That's why I said get yourself a pen and paper, because a lot happens.
Well, my first note is maybe a little bit victim blamey here, because I've just put, why move in?
Oh, yeah. Like, if you know it's haunted and all of your uncles before you have said it's haunted, your dad said it's haunted. You felt it. You know it was haunted. The only thing is, I don't know, she kind of makes a reference to, like, being there as a kid thinking it's haunted, her parents lying to her and be like, no, it's not haunted.
Yeah.
And then going back there as an adult and being like, oh shit, no, I remember why this place freaked me out.
Yeah, and I guess also, like, you've got to think, if she's not being charged rent and she's literally just paying bills, that's really enticing.
Yeah. And it sounds like a big house. Like, I know it's creepy, but it's got a basement and an attic that's been converted into 2 big bedrooms.
Yeah, like, I can see why, and I suppose if you had your friends living there with you or whatever as well, like, I don't know, I can definitely see why you would, but that is my main note. And if I'm just thinking about my nan's, like, creepy house and how nothing.
If you know where the hot spots are, you can be like, oh, I want this bedroom because I know nothing happens in this bedroom, and then you've only got to worry about when you've got to do your laundry. True.
I've also put mannequins are spooky. And we've spoken about mannequins being spooky before.
They're so creepy.
Yeah, mannequins are spooky. Also because, like, the amount of times I listen to true crime cases and people are like, oh, I thought it was a mannequin at first, and then I realised, like, there's that element, isn't it? I mean, first of all, obviously something humanoid is always a bit creepy to humans, I think. But yeah, it's the way that people are like, oh, I thought it was a mannequin, and then it turns out to be a body. Like, the two are a little bit interchangeable, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously mannequins are built to look like humans. Yeah. And you can put clothes on them.
Yeah, and there's something very, like, uncanny valley about that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Also, all attics are scary is another thing I've put. And my point there is I think even when attics are converted, I find them a little bit spooky.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's because the acoustics are different and it kind of gives that vibe still.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, even like my childhood house... Sorry, Lily just flopped out of bed and it looked really funny. So my childhood house, as I've said, was a bit haunted. But
yeah.
We had a converted attic, which was my sister's bedroom. And I always thought that was a bit different and like had a different feel. And I guess it does because A, it's in a different floor. B, it's sort of like a bit secluded.
Yeah.
Like obviously it depends if you've got like another bedroom up there, but most people just have the one room in an attic that's converted.
Yeah.
No, I think she said that there was multiple.
Yeah,
didn't she?
She said there was 2.
But even then, you still feel like you're slightly away from the house. Like I said, the acoustics are different, so it has a different feeling.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
like,
just that like one extra floor.
Yeah, and it's just because it's not purpose built. Like you've got multiple floors in your house.
Yeah.
But like because they're purpose built, they don't feel weird on each floor.
Yeah, like it wasn't built as an attic.
Yeah.
Like it was built as a 3-story house, and then we do have a small attic as well.
Yeah, whereas I think even when something's converted, you can feel that it used to be an attic.
Yeah.
I've also put basements are also creepy as fuck.
Yeah, which she does touch on as well.
She does. But I think they're even scarier to English people because we just don't really have them.
Yeah.
They're
Although,
not like...
if I saw a house for sale in my price range with a basement, I would be very tempted to buy it.
Why?
Just like the niche of it, do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, they're nice to convert and they're very nice in summer when it's boiling hot. My mum's basement, like my mum's cat hangs out in there all the time in summer because he's like, this is cool.
Yeah. Also, I have cats, so, you know, if there's a ghost there, tell me.
But again, even basements, because they're in the ground, the acoustics are different.
Yeah.
They feel secluded. It very much in basements, it feels like no one could hear you if you screamed.
It's the underground thing.
Yeah.
I think.
But that's the thing, where they are like underground, like I said, no one can hear you if you scream because you're literally soundproofed a bit.
Yeah.
And again,
like a wall, you're going to be heard by your neighbours.
Yeah. Whereas even if you're... So on my mum's street, they've all got basements.
Oh, really?
It's such a thick wall between because it's not... Like they dug an entire massive tunnel underneath all the houses and put walls between because that wouldn't make sense. Well, I'm assuming that's not what they did because that would be more prone to collapse, you'd think. You'd assume they dug different basements and then put walls as well. So it's still got that more soundproofing. Like I've never been in my mum's basement and been able to hear next door.
But you could be in like the front room and hear the neighbours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, I always think that like gardens are scary, even if you haven't. Like, I always think there's an element of it's. So, we think of like looking out into a garden during the day as you're doing your dishes, or like, you know, I look out into I've got a tiny garden that is completely backed by other people's back gardens. Yeah. And you look out and there's a wall like probably like 10 feet, not even 10 feet. Yeah, 10 feet away from you. Like, it's not a long garden. No. Like, there's no one who could be watching you from anywhere. But even at night, like, I look out at my garden in the day and I'm like, oh, this is, like, really nice and lovely. Yeah. And then at night, I'm like, oh, who's watching? No one's watching. If there's a person in my garden, I could see him.
I don't know if I've spoken about this on the podcast before, but that is, like, one of my fears. Is like I always have to draw the curtains. Like, it really creeps me out when you're in a room with the lights on and it's dark outside. Like, I have to draw the curtains.
I just looked outside because I'm like, definitely...
Do you know, I'm getting deja vu. We've definitely done this before. But we did it. We went to stay at a big house, like me and my friends, like for a weekend away. And I was going around like closing all the curtains. They're like, "Oh, we're in the middle of nowhere. We don't really need to close the curtains." And I was like,
"That's more
we're
reason.
in the middle of nowhere. We need to close the curtains." Yeah,
yeah. You know when you see those again, I'm sorry for just repeating ourselves, but you know when you see those celebrity houses and they're completely made of glass, and they've got like no curtains, no blinds,
nightmare.
And they're like, "Look at this," and I'm like,
"Wow."
Like Parasite. Like in the film Parasite.
Yeah. Have you seen The Invisible Man as well?
Yes.
His house is like that in The Invisible Man.
It's very much like, I feel like a rich person's like, I can look out at all the poor people. And you're like...
It's like, yes, but all the murderers can look at you.
Exactly. And then I also sort of made a note about how small rooms... So she alludes a lot to like small rooms, small closets... Closets are inherently scary because of the whole idea of like monster in your closet, ghost in your closet, woman in the closet.
Yeah.
In fact, I was recently listening to, I don't know if it was a Patreon episode or I think it was a normal episode from Emma from Real Life Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
Where she says, why are they always in the closets? Like what are they doing in there? But it's true, like they are always in the closets, so they are inherently a bit creepy. And I have OCD, and one of my obsessive like compulsions is to check closets a lot.
Yeah.
Even ones that people couldn't fit in. I've again seen too many horror stories.
My friend's got something really similar to that. Before he sleeps in a room that he's never slept in before, he has to check all the cupboards and make sure the doors are firmly closed.
I don't have to do the door thing, but I think we mentioned that before as well.
And, he has sent in his story, his
and
experiences.
I think he said about it, didn't he?
Yeah.
But and like I'm quite happy that my wardrobe now is actually, it's kind of built in. It's like a little alcove, so I don't feel like I have to check it because there's no door to it. But I do also think little rooms, in the same way as attics and basements, can be quite creepy because they're secluded.
Yeah.
And they're almost like little limbo areas. So like in my nan's house, again, inherently creepy, but you've got the kitchen. You've got a little hallway to the kitchen and then the main hallway. That little hallway feels so creepy because it's such a nothing area that's so quiet. Yeah. And then like there's a room that they call the music room, but it's more of a junk room now, that goes into the dining room. And again, that little room is so creepy because again, it's like a dead space and it's enclosed by like
you don't go in there very often.
Yeah, and it's just got a different feel to it. But I feel like because a lot of these little rooms either are really outside rooms, i.e. they've got like two walls that face the outside, which makes them a little bit cold. Yeah. Or they're like rooms leading to rooms, so they're quite enclosed. They feel like a basement.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're like not a room that you would sit in because it's nice and comfortable. It's just kind of like an additional room.
They're a passage.
Yeah.
So those are the notes I made. I also made a note to say I'd have to open the door like a white girl in a horror movie.
Oh God, yeah.
I wouldn't be able to live somewhere and not know what's behind a door.
Yeah, I think that's creepier than knowing.
Yeah. I watched a horror film recently and I can't for the life of me remember what it's called now.
Film names with Claudia.
I can't for the life of me remember.
Is it a new horror film or an old one?
New. It's got I can't remember the names of any of the actors. I really can't remember what this horror film's called now. But it's like it's about an Airbnb.
Okay.
And a woman goes to stay in an Airbnb and finds that someone else is already staying there and they can't get hold of the person whose Airbnb it is, so they decide to both stay there together. And you think that the guy who's there is going to be the creep, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it all goes very off the rails.
Okay.
And I really can't for the life of me remember what it's called. And in that Airbnb, they discover an area, and I don't want to go into it too much, but I would 100% be, like, as I was watching it, I was like, why are you doing that? Why are you going in there? What are you doing? And I think I said to Mikey, I was like, why would they do that? They're obviously going to die. And he sat there like, it's a horror film. But I also know that I would be like, yeah, I need to go down there.
Yeah, I am the same. Did I ever tell you about the story where we went into my friend's uni house attic?
Maybe.
I'm not sure if I've said it on here, but basically, we all knew we shouldn't go in it.
Barbarian.
Film names with Claudia.
Barbarian is what it's called. Really good.
Okay.
Came out in 2022. Really
on
good.
Netflix or Amazon or?
No, you'd have to rent it.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to give too much away, and it's very easy to. But it honestly goes from like plot twist to plot twist to plot twist.
Oh, I love that.
It is good. The ending is slightly anticlimactic, but this isn't a film review. Go and watch it. But honestly, I would definitely be dying in that film. But sorry, you were saying about...
Yeah, so it was one of those things where we knew we shouldn't go up there, but we did. So, I mean... And then we managed to get the door off, and then we couldn't get back on, so we left it open for like the whole night because we were drunk when we did it. But all of us were walking. We wouldn't walk underneath it. We were like skirting round the edge of the walls to like not walk directly under the hole in the ceiling. It was funny.
God, yeah. No, that's the thing. It's like even my friend, she lived in a rented flat that was a house converted into 2 flats.
Yeah.
And the landlord was like, oh, yeah, you can't get into the attic. It's actually bolted shut. And so one night when we'd had a few drinks, we were like, is it though? And we found out by pushing it that it very much wasn't. And I think there's a video somewhere on my phone of me like filming my friend pushing it open. And we realised it's open, and we were just like, no, don't go in there, don't go in there. Because we were like, why would you say it's bolted shut if it's not?
It's not, yeah.
I was just like, even though I'd had a few drinks, I had a bit of Dutch courage. I was like, nope, absolutely not. Actually, let's leave it closed. We don't need to know what's in there.
Yeah. And we all know curiosity killed the cat, so I don't know why we bloody do it.
Exactly. And then just to go on to the last bit, animals are super perceptive. We've said this before.
Yeah.
I've spoken about, animals, Claudia's animal facts, about how cats can see our stretch marks and stuff, and like how our skin has grown. So there's absolutely no reason in my head why they can't see ghosts and other beings and other things that we can't see, because I mean also as animals our eyesight's pretty crap. Not mine, because I've had lasers in my eyes, but I can actually see a ghost now too. Could you imagine? That should be a horror film.
That would be a great horror film. I would watch it.
Yeah.
I would massively put people off getting laser eye surgery, I think, but...
Yeah, you might get sued.
I feel like, isn't there a film, I think it's called The Eye, where she's blind, but she gets new eyes. She gets eyes donated.
Yeah, and she can
see the future.
Like ghosts or something.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, I mean, well, theoretically, that could happen. If you think about it, you could inherit someone's talent, perception ability, because they say that people who have heart transplants they can feel sadness from the person, and I know that a lot of people have said that's pseudoscience, but they do know that broken heart syndrome is a real thing.
So why wouldn't you be able to feel it?
I think we're still very caught up as a species at being like, oh, well, no, heart pumps blood around body, brain does feelings, but they're just chemical reactions. And actually, I think there's so much more to it. And I say this as someone who's in healthcare and considers herself a scientist. Okay, yeah, I believe in ghosts. So you might think, but but actually, if it's proven that, I know that heartbreak syndrome is obviously your body's reaction to stress, which puts a toll on your heart. But if all these things are connected, then I just feel like there's definitely so much that we don't know.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you, Indigo, for your story.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. A story again. Appreciate it.
Another story.
And nice, that's what I was saying. I can't get my words out today.
So, are you ready to move on to our cryptid this
Yes.
week? And Well, I hope you're going to like this one. So today I'm bringing you the Owl Man.
Oh, I saw in our Google Drive,
like
a title, and I was like,
ooh. So, I mean, I think we've covered a similar being to the Owl Man, if you can guess what it is.
The Mothman.
Yeah. Yep. Obviously. But have you heard anything about the Owl Man before, or is this falling on fresh ears?
I think I have. Bear in mind, last podcast on the left has done like a deep dive into like cryptids.
Okay.
However, I will say that maybe I haven't because, I don't know. I think I want to say yes.
Okay, you want to say yes, but can you remember anything about him?
Man who looks like Owl. Bam!
You know what? That's it. That's all I had.
Yeah, and thanks for listening, guys. Stay spooky.
Imagine. But, I mean, yes, as titled, the Owl Man is a humanoid cryptid which resembles an owl.
And owls are a bit creepy. Like, they're not when you make them show their legs. If you've ever seen an owl running or seen their legs. But owls are creepy, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the whole nocturnal element of owls as well, isn't it?
I'm nocturnal.
But they're considered like creatures of the night, which I think automatically then makes them Halloween, scary, blah, blah, blah. I think owls are quite cute and intelligent, but...
Yeah, like I've said before, my favourite video on the internet is the video of the owl. It's like, look how calm she is, and it turns around and it's like on the widest eyes ever, like it's on like so many drugs. Like, look how calm she is.
I feel like that's like me parenting. Be like, oh, Jess, you're taking to this parenting thing. Hang on, talking about parenting.
Hello! Mother, are you done yet? One sec, let me take a picture.
What are you doing?
Oh, I missed the picture.
Oh, wait, there you go. Hold it there, Aidan.
I got it.
What are you doing?
Just checking in, Mum. You got 17 minutes to be ready.
Aidan does that to me a lot. He'll just like appear around the corner, but baby first. I'm like, oh,
walk into the room, baby first.
Perth first.
Lily's watching me. It's a bit scary.
What is with this? I can still just. Are you coming in or no? You can. Okay. Do you want me to have you have a shower? Yes. Come on then. Are you in your pants? Yes. Okay. I'll just turn. Claudia, avert your eyes.
I'm looking at my ferret anyway.
You can come in closer.
Come a little closer.
It's only Claudia. She's seen worse than you and your boxers.
Well, don't know, might be sick.
Okay, right. You're not allowed to play with this microphone. No.
But it's new.
So, let's talk about the description of an owl man.
Mm-hmm.
So, the owl man is said to stand about 5 feet from the ground, and he has a 10-foot wingspan. He has large glowing red eyes and a gaping mouth.
Oh,
yeah.
Why are you mouth gaping? Close your mouth, fool.
He's an owl.
Mouth
he can
breather.
gape if he wants to. He has pointed ears, pincer-like claws, long ankles, and he makes a loud hissing and screeching noise. I know. I had to include that because I knew how funny you find owl legs, and I saw it and I was like, this is going to make
long
Claudia
ankles though,
laugh.
like, oh, look at that girl. She's well hot, she's got well long ankles.
In my head it is like, you know when you lift an owl's feathers up?
Yeah.
And they have like long, I was going to say long little legs, but that kind of like...
But like... long legs would be like a normal description, but long ankles.
I know. It made me laugh, so I had
All
to.
those knees are so long, girl.
Oh, they're so long. I love those ankles.
Victorians would be fucking
They
gone.
would be livid.
Livid?
Absolutely livid.
Also, you said something that got me. When you say he stands 5 foot from the ground, do you mean he's like 5 foot
5
tall?
foot tall. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant like he's just always at least 5 foot
From the ground. I mean, to be fair, He is always seen on a branch, never on the ground, so could be neither.
I can't get closer than 5 foot from the ground.
So yeah, he's about 5 foot tall.
Okay. Me too.
So, he, like an owl, he has greyish brown feathers covering his entire body, and he mostly resembles an owl/man/bear.
Bear?
Yeah.
That's a bit of a...
I think it's like I was going to say the size, but actually the man is the size, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and like bears, like, okay. I'm just going to go with it.
I was going to say the noise, but no, like hisses and screeches. That's quite owl-like, isn't it? I don't know.
Do owls hiss?
They screech.
Bears like growl, don't they? They're like,
yeah. Great bear noise. Yeah, so he has also sometimes been referred to as the Death Raptor, but he is... I know, I was like...
Sorry, that was a bit last podcast and left stolen, but...
What a great name, Death Raptor.
That's a good heavy metal band.
Well, a supervillain name, I was thinking.
Well, my friend's band is called Raptors. So I'm going to be like, guys, have you thought about putting death before it?
Rebrand Death Raptors. But he is most commonly known as the Owl Man of, I think it's pronounced Monan or Mornan.
Do you think he tried to get, make a nickname for himself, like... Be like, no, guys, I'm the Death Raptor. And everyone's like, you can't nickname yourself, dude.
Yeah, no, dude, you're an owl man.
You're like,
calm down.
Like the Rossinator.
Oh, God. So, yeah, he is just the owl man of Mornan. Mornan? Yeah, Mornan.
Mornan? Sure.
I think it's Mornan. I think Mornan is, like, it's basically spelt morn. Anne.
Okay.
But I think that's more of like a Bristolian... It's in Cornwall.
Oh, okay.
I think it's more of a Bristolian way of pronouncing it as Manan. But I think
as you were saying this, I was thinking America. And then as you said Manan, I thought like Philippines or Vietnam.
No, I think it is Mornan.
Okay. Angry Cornish in the chat.
So basically, he is said to attack the church and graveyard of the Mornan Old Church, as well as terrorising people who enter the nearby woodlands, especially if you enter them at night.
This sounds very similar to the Midnight Gospel by what was it? Mike Flanagan.
That's the one.
The Flaniverse, that was it.
The Flaniverse.
Yeah, it sounds like Midnight Gospel, is it?
Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
It sounds very similar to that.
Yeah, it does. Basically, it's thought that he might live in the church.
I mean, I didn't go to church for a reason.
But basically, he stalks around this rural village
with
his long ankles, and he scares all the locals and all the tourists.
Long ankle Mac Daddy. Okay, well, I mean, that would scare me, not good for tourist industry, actually. Or great for the tourist industry.
Great for the tourist industry in this case. But there is one more really, really strange fact about the Owl Man.
He's also got really long elbows.
To match his long... It's actually long wrists to match his long ankles. No, actually weirder than that, I think. That 90% of his sightings have come from young girls.
I mean, that's quite... When you say young, what age?
I'll go into it. So the first ever sighting of him was reported on the... Oh, sorry, I'm very distracted by her hiccuping. So the first ever sighting of him was on the 17th of April, 1976, and he was seen by two young sisters who were on holiday with their family during the Easter break. So they were called June and Vicky Melling, and they were 9 and 12.
Okay.
So they were playing in the woods when they saw what they claimed to be a hovering birdman flying above the church. So obviously ran back to their parents and said what they'd seen. So their dad, rightly so, phoned the police. So the police, thinking that they were lying, took them to the police station, took them into separate interview rooms and asked them to draw what they'd seen, and they both drew the same picture.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty creepy.
Yeah. How old did you say they were?
9 and 12.
Okay. Just because I'm thinking about how poltergeists are sort of linked to pubescent girls. Well,
okay.
Puberty, but tends to be pubescent girls. So, like, you've got the case of the Enfield poltergeist was a teenage girl or, like, a young girl.
Yeah.
Same with all the other poltergeists.
All the other well-known
I've listened to so many poltergeist cases and I'm like, and that one.
And that one. And that
brain
one.
lackasive. But yeah, it's definitely linked. Well, that people have drawn comparisons to how it tends to always be like girls going through puberty or prepubescent girls.
That's interesting you should say that. So most of the sightings were between 1976 and 1977. And actually 3 months after the initial sighting, he was seen again by 2 more 14-year-old girls.
Okay, yeah.
They were actually camping in the woods next to the church, having a sleepover.
Creepy.
Yeah, which, I mean, I guess different times, isn't it? And I guess it was probably close to their house, but 2 14-year-old girls camping alone in the woods.
I mean, also, I've said this before, like, my other nan, my mum's parents, live next to a graveyard. My granddad's since moved, but lived next to a graveyard. And I, didn't feel particularly unsafe about there being a graveyard next door. They never had any goings-ons. Yeah. Their house was creepy as well, though. But I wouldn't have camped out in their garden because it was next to a graveyard. Like, it's just a bit too much. And I don't even really mind graveyards. I did as a kid. I really didn't like them. But I don't even really mind graveyards. I really like walking in them now. But I'm still not going camping in one.
Yeah. So...
or near one.
So they were having a sleepover and they could hear a strange hissing noise coming from the woods. So one of them went outside to investigate while the other one looked for a torch. I'm not going out without a torch. I'm not going out, but I'm not going out without a torch. Yeah, so why the first one did. Anyway, she reports seeing glowing red eyes, and when the second girl comes to join her, they both say they saw a man-sized figure fly up into the air.
Also, I just, for some reason it just popped into my head. So you know how, like, a lot of cryptids are dated back to, like, the 70s and the 60s?
Yeah.
Like, they predate the 70s.
Yeah.
Lead paint and lead was quite commonly used in, like, prior to the 70s in the UK and in America, and it's just something to consider.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was one of the points that I was going to make later.
Look at me!
Well, not the lead paint, but just, like, when I looked into, like, the logic behind Owlman, one of the things was there was actually a lot of, like, UFO sightings and other cryptid stories coming out around this time, so...
There was mass hysteria, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the lead.
Maybe.
Because that is one of the theories about serial killers in America and, like... And how there were so many at one point. Like, you had Jeffrey Brutus and Ed Kemper.
Yeah.
And all that, like... People do wonder if it's kind of down to lead poisoning.
Yeah. That's an interesting theory. So there have been loads of other sightings. So there was another report. Didn't say age or witness in this one. But apparently they saw something in the tree that resembled the legend of the Owlman, but they just assumed it was a local trying to play a prank on them. So they called out to say, like, oh, like, good try, like, you're being funny. And it flew from the branch that it was standing on high up into the sky and then disappeared.
Oh, that would wipe the smile off your face, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Apparently, though, this person... Oh, it did say that this person was a male. And he said that the scariest thing about the whole encounter was that once he'd lost sight of the beast, he could still feel the sense of being watched, and he could hear, like, crackling all through the woods.
I mean, but then you would be hyper aware, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you would be. And who's to say that a lot of that noise wasn't just like other animals? You're in a wood.
Yeah, and you're like tuned into it because you're listening out because someone's just flown up into the air that you thought was a person. Yeah, that's the noise I've been making too, Ola.
You threw everything on the floor. It's okay, Daddy's here now. It did land that way.
Sorry.
Bye. Bye.
Look at my hem.
Oh, she can have that puree if you want, Aiden.
Is she going out with you?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so lost where I was. So yeah. Agreed.
He said he heard like all the aminals.
Aminals, yeah. So yeah, you would, I think.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, and then in August 1976, there were 3 French college girls who were boarding in...
Boarding.
They were at boarding school in Manan. Not Manan. Sorry, I was trying to do that accent, but I couldn't really say it.
Living in Manan.
Yeah, who were boarding school in... What did I say? It was Mornan. There we go. Who were boarding in Mornan. And they encountered a beast who, in the same woodlands as the owl man had previously been spotted, and they described it as a big furry bird with a gaping mouth and red eyes.
I don't like the gaping mouth, honestly.
Yeah.
The red eyes, I mean, my ferret's got red eyes. Big owl man, you know, it's like, all right, yeah, you're right, big owl man, how you doing? It's like, right, could you close your mouth though, please?
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, it's a bit much for me.
Yeah. And around the same time, there was another sighting from a couple named Sally and Gavin, although it has said that this might not actually be their names.
Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah, literally. But they were actually trying to find the owl man because they'd heard of like the tails and the folklore,
and the long ankles.
Yeah, and the long ankles. They wanted to find them sweet, sweet long ankles. So they thought it was a hoax anyway. So they went walking around the woods and they also discovered a human-sized owl with glowing red eyes, a gaping mouth. All of them say gaping mouth. Anyway, crouched on a low branch, and apparently when it saw them, it stretched to an impressive height and flew away.
It's like, look at me, bitch. And then I go.
Look how big and impressive my gaping mouth is.
My mouth
and
is
my
as
long
big as my ankles. Also, again, I'm the horror movie character who deserves to die because I'm saying, let's go on a day trip, Jess.
That is my exact thought when I was writing this. I was like, we definitely need to go to Cornwall.
Yeah, we'll do it. And you know what? You can sign up to Patreon to find out how it goes.
Find out how me and Claudia die by pissing off ghosts.
I thought you said kissing off ghosts then, and I was like, oh, you're a married woman. And I am a cohabiting woman.
For now. Sorry.
Till I meet the owl man.
Till I meet the owl man.
I mean, you could literally sweep me off my feet.
Literally,
imagine the kids would have with their long ankles.
Long ankles but short legs. His ankles, your legs.
Hey, I have quite long legs, right? I've got a little fat body and long arms and legs. I'm like a spider.
My head just went Mr. Tickle.
That too, Mrs. Tickle coming at you.
Anyway. Oh God, back to the
that damn
owl
space bar then again.
Oh, you better not. So yeah, back to the owl man. And over the years there have been loads and loads of sightings apparently, and they're all reporting the same thing.
Has he hurt anyone though?
Not according to he just like gets
He's
up and
just
flies
chilling.
away. He's just like, oh no, people, fly.
Yeah, like an owl.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So there was another sighting in 1995,
Ooh.
which is quite a bit on.
Yeah, I in my head I was like, oh, recent, like 5 years ago. No.
No, like... Yeah, I think but before my sister was born. God, fucking hell. We're old. Anyway, it was a young woman visiting from Chicago to see if the legend was true. And she also has said to encounter the Owl Man, and she described it as a vision from hell.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, a bit of a dramatic American in it, really. Like, everyone else is like, he was a bit much for me. She's like, vision from hell.
Yeah, he's like, oh, them long ankles and gaping mouth. I couldn't cope, but...
Couldn't do it. Sorry to all our lovely American listeners. Love you all dearly. I'm just... You can be a bit dramatic sometimes. I'm just saying.
I mean, that is just like the typical British reaction of, oh, there was a... He flew away.
Well, it's like, did you see on my Instagram story yesterday, the like man who's like trying to get a swan out of a fence, and the mum swan is British. Like, yeah, like the mum swan is, so just for context for everyone, like there's a swan, a cygnet stuck in a fence, a chain link fence, and this man's just trying to like, you know, massage the neck back so he can get it out. And obviously swans are very protective of their young, so the mum or the dad swan is like, what you doing? Getting all like hissy at him. And he just goes, all right, calm down, like in the most British way.
It's great. It's such a good video.
Just like, all right, don't be silly now. Come on, I'm trying to help you.
Calm your feathers. So other reports as well, I'm going to move swiftly on, have also described animals acting strangely around the same times as his sightings, so cats becoming more feral and dogs attacking out of the blue.
Bit much.
People have also reported to see the red and orange orbs glowing above the church, which they think is the eyes. And apparently the weather in the year that the Owl Man was most prominent was very strange, reaching record low temperatures and record high temperatures only a few months apart.
Okay, so we should go soon because it's very cold and it was very hot.
Yeah, basically. But
how's tomorrow looking for you, Jess?
Yeah, fine. But then I've also put a bit like, I mean, we had heat waves last year and snow. I think that's just the weather in England now because of global warming. But
then the UK in general has like a very mixed climate.
Yeah, especially in places like Cornwall, where it is in England, they do tend to have like the more extremes of the weather.
Should we maybe explain where it is in England?
Oh yeah, it is in the very, very southwest of England.
And it's almost on like a little leg of its own.
Yeah. So as you said earlier, most people think this is the most likely thing, and it is mass hysteria. As it was a story made up to rival the Mothman, get more tourists. Like they saw that tourists were going to see and try and find Mothman, so they make up the Owl Man to try and get more tourists into that part of Cornwall because it's not the most busy.
Travel tips with Claudia and Jess.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people abroad, actually, you're missing out, but a lot of people abroad, like if they come to the UK, they go to London, or they might go to like Scotland or something. But actually, I'm going to say, guys, I've not been to Cornwall that much, but it's fucking beautiful. Like, if you're going to go to anywhere
stunning.
For like nice beaches, either go to Wales, like Pembrokeshire, or go to Cornwall.
Yeah, and then if you want like countrysides, you're better off going up like north.
Yeah,
like Yorkshire, Lake District, Yorkshire Dales and stuff like that.
Travel tips with Claudia and Jess.
So yeah, mass hysteria and like a made up story is the most common theory as to how he came about. Yeah. And that does also have a reason as to what people were spotting accidentally. So a zoologist thinks that they could have been mistaking a Euro-Asian eagle owl which can be found in England, but they're just not very common, so people won't necessarily have seen one before. But they are roughly 3 foot tall and have a 7 foot wingspan.
Oh, they're pretty.
Yeah.
They have got very red eyes, though.
They do have red glowing eyes, and you think they're quite big. If you're scared, 3 foot and 5 foot from a distance.
Baby ones are really cute and ugly.
Yeah, and they do have like the spiky ears and the big. They don't have the long ankles, but they do have like big talons and everything.
Yeah,
so,
I'll put a picture with the post that goes out. But yeah, they've got the red eyes. They've got them long ankles.
They've got them long ankles. Could very easily be mistaken.
They are browny blue as well, because they've got a mixture of grey and brown, which together can look a bit bluish. They're very pretty, actually.
Yeah,
they're like angry pretty, like serving, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, they look like they would come for you in a fight.
Our size, yeah, they're pretty big, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they can have a wingspan. Did you say the wingspan?
7 foot, yeah.
Yeah. And they can be like 4 kg, which, you know.
It's quite heavy.
I think that's how much my boobs weigh, actually.
Really? Ola's now 5.4 kilograms.
Oh, so they weigh as much as Ola.
Well, she's now heavier than Albus.
My my boobs weigh more than them, to be fair, though.
How do you know how much your boobs weigh?
I put them on a scale.
Like just
Pretty much.
love it. In my head, that was like a food scale.
Well, I did it at Sainsbury's. Well, I went shopping for a bra yesterday, and guess what my new size is?
What?
36E.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Sorry, I know you're trying to go out, and I made you like 10 minutes late. I'm chatting about my tits.
When are we not chatting about your tits, for fuck's sake?
You love it.
Anyway. So, the other theory, which is a little bit more out there, is people think that the church that the Owl Man lives in may be built on a ley line.
Okay.
And that the Owl Man is a product of the Earth's energy. And then some people have like developed on that and come up with a much darker theory.
Of course.
That he is a manifestation of a demonic owl god whose worshippers sacrifice children to him.
That's a bit out there, and that's a satanic panic.
That's a bit of a out there theory. But thought I'd include it because...
Yeah, I mean...
Why not?
I just it's always like... You know, okay, so where are these kids that have gone missing, that have been sacrificed?
Yeah, sacrificed. But I think that was someone being like, oh, that's why it's mostly young girls who've seen him. And I was like, oh, I just think
young girls, like, see things?
I think as well, if a young girl saw that eagle owl, they would be like, oh my God, it was a massive owl man and he was going to kill me. Like,
yeah, and also, like, I feel like women are more likely to cite it, maybe because we've spoken about this before. Women are more aware of their surroundings because we have to be to survive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And also women are more likely to speak about creepy things they've seen, I feel, than men. Like...
Yeah. Also, a young, like, oh, no, she was 9, was it? A 9-year-old girl seeing that eagle owl is probably a lot more scary to her than it is to, like, a 17-year-old man.
Yeah.
Like, if he saw that, he's not going to be like, oh my God, there was this terrifying owl man. He's going to be like, oh, it was just an owl. Whereas she's going to be like, oh my God, I had glowing red eyes and it was absolutely terrifying. Especially if it did do full wingspan and screeched at her. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Especially, like, I'm able to Google that now. But in the 70s, you couldn't just be like, oh, I'm going to Google this weird fucking, like, red-eyed owl thing I saw.
Yeah, especially if they're, like, they were native... Well, they are native to England, but they're just not very common in England.
Well, yeah, you don't see owls that often.
No.
In general, even though we have loads of owls. I've heard an owl once.
Yeah.
When I've been in bed, and some of the windows open. And then I, like, saw an owl when I was... driving the other week, and I was like, oh, owl, because you don't see them.
No.
And it wasn't even in the dark as well. It wasn't even in night. It was during the day. I was like, that was an owl. Like,
that was weird. So yeah, the last reported sighting of the Owl Man was in 2011, but people don't think he's gone. He is just biding his time.
Well, you know what, girl? We'll go find him.
Yeah.
We'll be like, listen, long-ankled Mac Daddy. Can we have an interview for our Patreon?
What a great Patreon episode that would be. Hi, Albert.
Honestly.
Albert's
It's the publicity we need. He'd be doing us a solid.
He would be. So, yeah, that's all I have on the Owl Man.
Oh, well, I genuinely think we're probably going to end up meandering down to Cornwall.
I definitely think we should.
And these are the kinds of things that you can genuinely expect to see on our Patreon. We'll have little things like this, like little excursions. So, yeah, we'll let you know as and when.
I would love to do a trip to Cornwall. The other place I want to do a trip to is York.
We're not doing that on the same day because that's different in the country.
Fucking hell no, not on the same day. I don't even think we should do Cornwall in a day.
You don't think we should do Cornwall in a day?
Do you know how long it takes to drive there?
2 hours?
Depends where you go, but...
Yeah, we're not going to Penzance.
Why not? Let's go to Land's End. I can do the whole of Cornwall.
Top to bottom.
Apparently, I'm not sure if this is true, Simon can confirm. Apparently, no matter where you are in Cornwall, you're always a 20-minute drive from the sea.
Again, another travel tip with Jess. Anyway, have we got another ghost story?
We do. One final ghost story. So this is the last one from Jules, but it is her partner's family's stories. So they're a little bit more like short and sweet than hers because they've just been like, oh yeah, like this happened, because they're very blasé about it. But I think if you live in a haunted house and things go on all the time,
you have to. It's a survival thing as much as anything.
So yeah, these are Glenn's family's stories. So, to go along with my personal stories, my partner's family has also shared little stories about their experiences in the house. Glenn says he has had a few experiences, but the one that stays with him the most is when he was in bed with his ex-girlfriend in the same room as my experiences happened. He saw the top half of an old woman float across the floor of his bed and then disappear. His brother has had an experience where he woke up one night to an old lady staring him in the face, just like you see in the horror films. His mum has heard loads of talking, just like we did, and one time she felt someone behind her and they said hello right in her ear, but when she turned around there was no one there. His dad once saw someone walk past the doorway to the living room and then walk upstairs, and everyone has reported to have heard footsteps. And everyone has reported to have heard footsteps, muffled voices, and door handles moving, which on their own you could explain, but with the rest of these stories, I think it's safe to say this house is haunted.
Dun dun dun. Thank you, Jules. I didn't mean to make fun at the end. It was just like the last line, which probably Jess might have added.
Yeah, I might have done. I read it so long ago, but. I agree. Like, it is haunted.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
So, Lavender Woman, I'm saying. Was it Lavender Woman?
Do you know what? That was my first thought as well, because
in which case, can understand why you would not want to invoke a Lavender Woman if she's, like, staring at your face. You'd be like, right, she doesn't have personal boundaries, actually, so...
Yeah, and if you only saw the top of her and not her legs, where are her legs?
Yeah, I know. What are her ankles like? I need to know.
Are they long, like Owlman's? I need to know.
Long or short ankles?
It's been a very ankle-heavy episode.
It really has. It's got to be entitled something like that, hasn't it? Yeah, was it the Lavender Woman? But then I suppose they would say something about the lavender again.
Yeah, like, would you have smelt it again?
So 10 out of 10 do not like the idea of waking up and someone's face being in my face.
Literally terrifying. Even if Aiden did to me, I think I would smack him.
Oh yeah, so I always give Mikey like a kiss in the morning before I go to work, but he's a really heavy sleeper. So like he doesn't wake up as I'm getting ready around him. Like
yeah.
I even blow dry my fringe and he won't wake up.
Really?
Yeah, like honestly, like if you wanted to burgle us when Mikey's around, just... could do it. I poked him in the eye by accident when I was sleeping the other day and he stayed asleep as well.
Oh my god.
And
How does his alarm wake him up in the morning?
It really doesn't very well. He has an alarm where, like, it eventually wakes him up, and then he has to do maths equations to turn it off. Otherwise, he'll just turn it off on his sleep.
That's mad.
Yeah.
That's so good, though.
It makes you do 3 maths equations before it goes off.
Mine would never fucking go off. I'm so bad
I do have to help him
maths.
sometimes when I'm, like, really sleepy. I'm like, oh, it's so 48.
Like, so sometimes if I have to get up, I will use this one.
Yeah, I think you've probably like really upset lots of people listening, and they've all turned off because
There's a horrible noise. But
well, no, also like anyone's alarm noises are just like the most like grating thing in the world. Aren't they?
God, yeah. Maths equations, to turn it off though, yeah. Even if it was like 2 + 2, that time in the morning, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll go and give him a kiss in the morning, and like 9 times out of 10 I just like go, bye bye, I love you, and you go like, I love you, or something like that. But one time I went to give him a kiss in the morning, and he woke up as I got close to his face and just screamed in my face. And I was like, oh, I was just going to say goodbye. But
I do that to Aiden sometimes, to be fair. I'll like go to say goodbye to him and he'll be asleep and he'll just go,
yeah, bless him. But he doesn't remember it.
oh, really?
Yeah. And then whispering in your ears. So the weird thing is, I hear people whisper in my ears quite a lot.
Oh, really?
I think I might have said this, like even at work, especially if I'm doing the checks in the resus area, I will hear like Claudia, and I'm like, what? Someone say my name? And then people are like, no, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I just think it's because I'm tired. But that was just my note. Don't really have much else to add other than like maybe I'm being really haunted and I'm just like, la la la, you say something?
No, not you. Fine, must be my imagination.
I mean, to be fair, if anywhere in work is sadly going to be haunted, it would be resus, because it's where people are most sick and most people sadly pass away.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Like if someone passes away in any other area of the hospital, it's worrying because like any other area of A&E, it's worrying because we haven't identified that they should be in resus because it's
life-threatening.
Yeah, so that would be very bad on our part. Like theoretically, you should never pass away.
It's like someone passing away on an orthopedic ward.
Yeah, like unless
very rarely happens.
Yeah, unless you're palliated.
Yeah,
and sometimes we do palliate people sadly in A&E, and they end up passing in A&E because of waits for beds. At the moment, luckily, we're not in that position. But yeah, if you're going to pass away anywhere in an A&E department, it should really be in resus. Unless it's planned and they've moved you elsewhere to wait for a bed. So I do feel like if the fact that I hear it mostly in resus cubicles, I hear people going, hello, and stuff like that, maybe I should actually think about that a bit more. But then I do a lot of night shifts, so...
Yeah, who's to say it isn't just
me being tired? Yeah. But maybe it is people in my ears, and you know what, like, they're not a threat, they're just sadly had a really awful time and have passed away. And they're saying hi. Now I'm going to be a bit terrified at work.
Well, hopefully it's just someone saying like thank you for looking after them.
Yeah, I have also just realised that when I'm thinking about it, I only hear it in the 2 trauma cubicles.
Oh God, you're going to be like sat on this all night now, aren't you?
Yeah, like I tend to hear it in resus 6 or resus 1, and there are main, like if we've got a trauma coming in, we put them in resus 1 and if not 6. So,
just stop working in there.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't mean to completely go on a tangent about how I might be haunted, but
well, not you, just those.
Just work.
Those cubicles.
I mean, it's kind of sad and sweet at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a bit of a creepy house.
Yeah, 100%.
Why haven't they got a cleanser in? Have they? Can't remember.
I don't think so. Well, not to my knowledge. Not that Jules has said, but...
Fair.
Who knows?
We could definitely do a ghost investigation there if they're up for it.
Yeah.
I have a friend who does ghost investigations.
Yeah, I know. I thought we were going to do one with her at some point.
Yeah. Again, Patreon things, guys.
Get on Patreon, guys.
Well, not yet. Well, you can do, but we'll let you know when it's all fully live.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
But no, thank you, Jules, for another story. And thank you, Jess. I'm really sorry I made you overrun.
That's okay. To be fair, we're meeting our friend who's always late. He said he'll be there at 7, and he's probably not there yet. For reference, it's 7:25.
Fair. Well, thank you for the spooky stories, Indigo and Jules. Again, very much appreciated. As always, we're always looking for more spooky stories, scary stories. And also, we're always looking for like UFO, creepy
just anything,
things.
really.
Anything.
Fair.
So yeah, thank you. Again, as we've been saying throughout this episode, we're currently working on Patreon things. We're still sort of like tweaking what's going to be on this, so we'll give you a proper update of what episodes are going to be like and schedules as and when it goes live.
Can imagine as well, it's going to be very much a learn as we go. So do please bear with us as soon as we do start releasing stuff, because it is subject to change. And also, if there's something you really like, let us know. If there's something you don't like, let us know. We'll go with what, like, I mean, you're the ones hopefully paying for the content. We want to give you what you want to listen to and watch. So
at the moment, we're sort of, we're aware that you guys will be paying for a service. Therefore, we always need to make sure you've got content. So that's what we're trying to do at the moment. Make sure we've got enough content for you guys, that we're a little bit ahead, so that you're always getting exactly what you pay for. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Keep your eyes peeled, your ears peeled. Keep everything peeled. Just peel yourself.
Your nose peeled.
And we'll
your long
let you
ankles
know.
peeled.
Yeah, long ankles peeled. Mouth gaping open. And other than that, guys, you know what to do. Stay spooky.
Hey guys, if you have a ghost story or a case suggestion, please email us truecrimecovenpod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Twitter @truecrimecoven or on Instagram and Facebook, where we are @truecrimecovenpod.
Also, it would mean the absolute world to us if you could rate us wherever you're listening to this right now, be it Spotify, Apple Music, or if you're on YouTube, give us a little thumbs up, click that bell, get notifications every time we post.
Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from.
Make these two witches smile.
Thanks, witches.
Sorry, Simon.